Okay, so today the 19th of November, Tuesday, our agenda of the meeting is basically to discuss the specific a scenario which Tetsuya actually selected about the two workers who have a little fight in a retail store. And we're going to state the specific communication problem in detail first of all. Then we're going to investigate the problem. And then thirdly, then we're going to establish the criteria used when evaluating our solutions. And after that, we're going to brainstorm the communication-based solutions to the problem and make sure the solution follows criteria discussed previously. And then we will agree on to the final solution. So Tetsuya, if you please kindly just explain the situation here.
Okay, so let me explain about the situation. The two co-workers were working together in a retail store. Worker A made a mistake. Worker A is a new worker. He made a mistake on the register when completing a customer transaction. And he has only worked on the register twice and he is not fully confident. His supervisor becomes angry and yelled at worker A. Worker A is a new employee and feels uncomfortable. Customers as well as the manager on duty witness the situation. And this is not only first time, but also that it happened many times in the store. So we need to solve this problem today.
So I guess first off, a question we can ask is obviously why did the supervisor get angry, right?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. That's the first question that comes to my mind as well. Yeah. Any suggestions? What do you think?
Yeah, probably because he has seen this situation more than a couple of times, and that's why he has become angry. And
okay. Well, or maybe the worker B, which is basically the supervisor.
The supervisor, yeah.
So maybe the supervisor is short-tempered, or
yeah.
somehow he had a bad day, and he just.
He was not in a good mood.
Yeah, or he just thought he should just yell at the worker. Any other suggestions?
I think he's also self-centered. He doesn't usually care about others.
Yeah, okay. Or maybe I was just thinking that maybe the supervisor has explained the worker several times about correcting the same situation, but he is not complying with the directions of the supervisor. And finally, the supervisor was just, he was, and he thought, this is enough, and then he just yelled, which is still not professional, I believe. But this could be the probable causes which we just discussed, 4 to 5 causes could be there, which make the supervisor angry. Now the second question is that how could worker B have reacted differently? This is a very good question actually.
Maybe talk to him in private first of all.
Yeah, that's actually a very good solution.
Yeah. Not in public, maybe in private.
Yeah. Because that just simply conveys the wrong message to everybody. The customers are there, and if two co-workers are yelling and they are fighting on any issue, this just gives us such a bad impression of those two workers as well as
the company as a whole. Right?
Yes.
And it's also bad for the whole business when customers are watching this.
No, I think so. That's absolutely right. What else do you think he has done differently? So we said first of all they should talk in private, and then they just isolation away from the customers.
We got to make sure we're talking to the worker privately, right? But the way he talks to them in private should be I don't know. You shouldn't still be yelling at him.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe the way you act, maybe even if you talk in privately, you still shouldn't be yelling at him. You should really try to be patient, try to find a way to encourage him. Right? Because you want him to learn ultimately. You want him to be a better worker in the end. You don't want to yell at him. You want to find a more pleasant way to deal with him.
Yeah. Well, I think so. Yelling is not a choice at all times, first of all. And secondly, I am looking at two different scenarios. One scenario is that a supervisor has to talk to the worker at the same time because the correction is needed right there, right away. Maybe. So the supervisor has to talk right away. So if he has to talk right away, even then he has to, choose his words carefully, because he is not talking in public in front of other customers. So he should be talking so professionally that the customers over there should not notice
Yeah.
that, I mean, the worker who is dealing with has not enough experience, or they are just, I mean, correcting. Or if he has to go somewhere else and talk after some time, even then he has to maintain that professionalism and talk, as Parman said, that he has to talk very professionally, because the main objective here is to correct the worker, not to discourage him. So I think so.
Yeah, good point. And the first one you mentioned that the supervisor sometimes need to talk to the new worker right away.
Yeah, right.
Because if he makes a
That's a
mistake.
good point.
But,
You want to correct it right away.
Yeah,
just
just
in a professional way.
Yeah. So just oh, okay, I can help you, or
Yes,
there's
exactly.
a different way
Exactly,
to say.
yeah. Because I mean, in this situation, the greatest responsibility is with the supervisor.
Yeah.
Because I mean, worker A has already done a mistake, so he can't do anything else.
And he's a
He
new
has-
employee.
Yeah, he's a new employee. He has done a mistake. He can't do anything worse than that. I mean, what has done. So now the situation is in the hands of the supervisor.
Yeah.
He has to control. So it all depends that how experienced he is, how much human resource background that guy got, because that's what he's going to reflect over there.
Yeah, but the only thing is, sometimes when supervisor tells the worker everything, right, that he has to do, there'll be a tendency that he's gonna expect like, do this and do that, without doing any mistakes with what you're doing.
Yeah, could be. Right. Okay, so, I mean, now probably we should think that, I mean, what other reasons could be there for this problem? Is it related to a culture?
Also, we can move on to the next.
Just
Yeah.
look deeper
Next
into
step.
the
Yeah,
problem.
definitely.
Maybe,
Okay, yeah.
maybe some things, maybe as like you said, culture, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
age difference. Maybe the new worker's like a young guy.
Yeah, could be. I
He's
mean,
like
yeah.
a young guy. It's like his first
And
job.
supervisor
He
is like
doesn't-
68 years old, almost
And the
going to
supervisor
retire.
wants to
Yeah.
have control on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Like supervisor's probably been there for years. He's
Yeah.
seen it all. He's,
Yeah, exactly.
He's seen all these
Yeah.
kids, and he's probably really just
Yeah.
patient, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And maybe the position difference. I mean, if he is a very senior kind of supervisor and
He's gonna
he is
act
just
like
proud
a
of
boss.
that maybe, and he
Yeah.
just don't care that, I mean, a new employee is here and he should be helping the guy first.
Yeah.
And I mean, there could be a lot of things, yeah.
think about the worker too. He might be
Yeah.
really intimidated, right? Especially, like I know for me personally at work, like when I first started working, whenever there's higher ups around, I get really nervous and stressed out.
Yeah.
Maybe I
Yeah.
make a lot of
Yeah.
mistakes.
It's something natural.
Yeah, yeah. Or maybe something else, I mean, that comes to my mind, that maybe the supervisor just was agitated because of any body language signs from the worker A. I mean, we are just discussing the scenario, right? So it could be one of the reasons that, I mean, he don't like the body language. I mean, and he just got irritated because of that. And yeah.
Because some, especially young kids, they always
Yeah.
like have their head down and just the way they're acting.
Yeah.
It's not. Maybe he just doesn't really care about his job, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's his first job. And
Yeah.
he doesn't really-
Or maybe the supervisor is just short-tempered. I mean,
Could be.
he is just in an old age. He's 60 years old. He's already short-tempered.
Yeah.
It's the end of the shift. Everybody wants to go home, and the worker A just made a stupid mistake, and he just got so flared up with the situation that, I mean, because of that mistake, and maybe the supervisor has to stay for another extra hour because of that mistake. That's
Or
making him
maybe
agitated.
He has
Yeah.
to stay for longer.
That's,
because
I
of
thought,
that
maybe,
specific part.
yeah.
Or even new worker, like he
Yeah.
might have actually that, kind of send a non-verbal message to the supervisor without saying. But, maybe the supervisor couldn't get actually that meaning, non-verbal message, even though like a new worker actually that felt, that nervous or, didn't have confidence. Sometimes it's obvious that everybody notice, that, new worker kind of nervous, but supervisor usually like need to recognize the situation.
Yes,
But
exactly,
Supervisor maybe doesn't have.
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
what we
ability.
discussed earlier actually, yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, that's right. What else, Parman, we need to discuss about the situation?
About some criterias.
Okay.
let's move on to the
Let's move on to
yeah,
criteria.
establish
Okay.
criteria.
Yeah,
Just coming up with a solution to how we should deal with this problem.
okay,
Just what are some criteria that should be met when we come up with a solution?
okay. So what you are trying to
So-
say is that we need to establish that how this situation could be resolved? Okay, okay.
So I think the first most important thing, no matter what solution we come up with, customers come first.
Okay, yeah.
Because
That's for sure.
customer satisfaction,
Yeah.
no matter what solution we come up with, we have to make sure the customers.
So what I understand is that, first of all, the problem to this solution is that this discussion between the supervisor and the worker has to be away from the customer,
Away from customer.
or
Definitely.
should be in a manner that it should still looks nice to the
Yeah.
customer who's standing over there. So
Yeah.
the impression is not going. Okay, well, fair enough. It's good. What else, Fritz, do you think?
Criteria, one of the criteria has to be effectiveness,
Okay.
because solution, if it's cost, if you know the supervisor need to, or even new worker need to some take course or something to improve,
Yeah,
it's cost money. So we need to make sure that
Yeah.
the solution is effective for company.
yeah, no, but that's for sure. Yeah, I totally agree with you that, I mean, if the solution is not effective, it means that because every solution has a cost. If it is, in terms of money or in time, in terms of time, it has a cost. So if it is not effective, it is just useless.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
This is a good one actually.
Is there any idea?
Well, I think so, it has to be realistic too.
Yeah.
And I think so it should be realistic and it should be achievable.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because if we are giving a task to worker A and he don't have enough training for it,
Mhm.
or he don't have a capability of doing it,
Mhm.
he don't have a background to do it,
Mhm.
we should not be expecting results from that worker. So basically, I believe is that the effectiveness is basically comes in when you select the goals which are realistic, and when you see the whole situation and see that if the person is capable of doing it, he is listening, he is awake and all that, and then we expect that, oh, okay, well, we have set realistic targets for this person and we are hopeful that he will follow them effectively. So I think so.
Good point.
Yeah, as
that,
you mentioned,
yeah,
yeah.
it's achievable, and but the lengths to achieve the goal has to be kind of for short term in this case, because it's not quite big, complicated situation
Yeah.
to
Yeah, it's
resolve.
not that.
Yeah.
So if like, it takes 1 year to
Mm.
actually improve the situation, it's
Yeah.
not kind of realistic. So I
Yes,
don't know the
exactly.
lengths, but 1 or 2 months,
But
then we need to
Mm.
actually solve
the problem should be corrected,
Yeah. Okay.
almost immediately.
Yeah.
And maybe versatility as well.
Mm.
I think, because you never know, something like this can happen again, like another problem, something similar. So
Mm.
maybe the solution we come up with, we can apply to like another.
Yeah,
another problem.
any new workers
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
any new
exactly.
supervisors.
Yeah, yeah. So that's good. So I mean, what are the solutions? I mean, I'm just thinking that, I mean, the first solution is that, I mean, the solution should be effective in terms of cost, versatility, realistic, achievable and
Specific.
everything. And then, what should be exactly the solution? I mean, we should brainstorm that as well. I don't know, but maybe the first of all, the worker, the supervisor should be calm down, and he should have a, I mean, a gentle approach towards when he's talking to his subordinates, maybe.
Or instead of behaving that way, like you can call the manager, the boss, and they can
Yeah.
involve.
Yeah,
But maybe he's more experienced and be better
Yeah.
than how to be in that situation.
yeah, yeah. What do you think, Gaurav?
sometimes you don't really need to get the boss involved, honestly.
Yeah.
I think something like this, the supervisor should be able to deal himself.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, and that's why he's supervisor.
Exactly, that's
Yeah.
his job.
What is
Yeah.
like, in some
Like,
situations?
honestly, the boss
that-
really doesn't like to get involved with something like something.
Oh.
Honestly, something like this
Yeah.
is kind of minor, right? It's just a little
Yeah.
conflict.
No, what I mean, what I understand from
But
Leela's
it's-
point of view is that maybe if the nature of the problem is serious enough
Yeah.
to approach the boss,
If it gets out of control.
out
right?
of control or something, and then, I mean, to get to just not to make it more worse, it is just a good idea to have the boss in. But I mean, at the first place, I mean, the best thing is that if the two workers or a supervisor and a worker or a group of people sit together and just resolve the problem instead of going to the higher
And if-
Higher-ups.
Yeah.
I mean,
And if
Yeah.
not, definitely it should get the
I mean,
boss
if they can
involved.
deal with it themselves, then that's
Yeah.
fine.
That's perfect.
Because I mean, if you get the higher-ups involved, get the boss involved, think
Mm.
about it. It might be it's even worse for the worker, right?
Mm.
You know how like scared he might get.
Mm.
Well,
I mean, in this situation, as the Tetsuo explained, the negative thing, I can see two negative things in it. One negative thing is that the customer is walking away from the shop with a very bad impression.
Yeah,
Number one. Number two negative thing is the worker A has now a zero confidence because he has been just disgraced in front of a customer,
Yeah, exactly, in front of the
I mean,
customers.
he has a zero confidence.
yeah.
And the third problem is, the third negative point is, the supervisor itself is not ended up with a good feelings. So
Yeah,
everybody is
exactly.
unhappy in this situation, if you
Yeah,
see,
everyone
customer,
is unhappy.
worker A and the supervisor, all the three people, nobody is happy here.
No one is happy.
The thing is, sometimes in a supervisor, the situation,
Yeah, and I
doesn't
think
realize
so,
the
now in
situation,
all this
you know.
situation, all
Yeah.
these three people,
If-
to make them happy, it was the responsibility of the supervisor.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
because the worker A already done his job, customer just can't do anything because he is just a customer. So the major responsibility lies
Yeah,
with the
exactly.
supervisor to control the situation and make it effective for everybody. And I mean, as we discussed that earlier, that he can just talk to him privately or just wait the customer to go. And I mean, yeah, I think so. These are the solutions that comes to my mind. I mean,
it should be a win-win situation for
Yes,
everyone.
exactly.
Positive solution. Good for customers, good for the worker, good for the supervisor.
yeah.
so maybe in next meeting, we can think about, do the brainstorming about solution. And,
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, we got a good idea, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so thank you very much, and I hope to
Thank
see
you.
you next week.
Okay, so thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're gonna meet next time and then we'll do some more brainstorming.